Hello, everybody. This is Eavesdropping at the Movies. I'm José.
I'm Mike.
And we've just come from the Happytime Murders with Melissa McCarthy.
And some puppets.
And some puppets. And the only pleasure to be had from this film was watching Mike squirm and hate every moment of it and get angry about it. So can you tell us a little bit about what exactly made you so pissed off about this film?
It is infantile, puerile, self-satisfied shit. I think this film sits alongside like Sausage Party, which was out a couple of years ago, although Sausage Party is better than this. But it's essentially this idea of taking what is supposed to be a kid's film. So in that case, it was 3D animated, kind of talking items. It was It was like talking groceries in a supermarket in Sausage Party, and in this, it's basically Muppets, and making it vulgar and swearing. And this is not something that we haven't seen before. I mean, you can go back to like the South Park movie and South Park as a cartoon. It's like the whole, when that came out in 98, 99, it was hugely controversial because it was little animated kids swearing their heads off and talking about all sorts of depraved things. Although if you go back and look at those first couple of seasons now, they're so tame by today's standards.
It's kind of pretty much one of your favourite shows of all time.
And it's one of my favourite shows, South Park. So, and I've been kind of trying to work around this in my head for the last few since I saw the movie. So, what Happytime Murders is it is based on a world in which puppets are real. A little bit like sort of Who Framed Roger Rabbit, how the toons exist alongside real people, and they are discriminated against. Although it's really underdeveloped, but there's this basic idea of racism against puppets.
It's stupid, but pretty much, puppets are meant to be the black people of this world. In the film. Yeah,
I mean, and that's not like that's not putting it too crudely. That is, there are direct references to the idea of like the N-word.
Yes.
Although obviously it's not the N-word, but calling puppets blue, as if that is like calling them the N-word.
Yes.
And your main character Phil is a private investigator who used to be the only puppet cop, and he was kind of disgraced.
Yes.
And the suggestion was that he was with his partner, who's played by Melissa McCarthy, and she was being held at gunpoint by a puppet, and he took the shot at the puppet and missed. And the suggestion is that he missed deliberately because puppets don't kill puppets, and he's always denied this. That's why he got kicked off the force. That's why he's been kind of disgraced and he drinks now. And the film is a pretty sort of standard spoof of PI type stories. It's got kind of noir. It's got the voiceover, the grisly voice. It's got the kind of glamorous woman who's under threat who comes to him looking for help at the start, and he's got his backstory. It is completely unfunny. It is vulgar to the point of. Well, I tell you, I have been trying to work on this, right? I have been trying to think this through, because when I think back to something like the South Park movie or Team America, which is by the same guys, Trey Parker and Matt Stone, I mean, Team America is a direct point of reference because that's a puppet movie too. Although it's not the Muppets, which I think have like an extra level of sort of childhood cachet. These are Muppet type creatures in this, as opposed to just puppets, which they were in Team America. But when I was kind of trying to think through, like, so basically you're taking puppets and making them puerile. Like, what's so funny about that? But I found Team America really funny, and I think what Team America has over this is that that's not the end of the joke, right? There is satire in that film, and it's actually quite biting, even though it is pretty vulgar as well. And in this, there is nothing else to the joke. No. That is where the joke ends, and it is like it's like when you see kids. Like when you're a kid and you have like, Barbie and a Ken or whatever, and you make them fuck, you're holding them in your hands, and it's like, ha ha ha, look, they're fucking. Like, that is, what it is those people who made those jokes when they were kids have now found themselves in charge of a movie, there's no extra creativity. They're just doing that.
Okay, but let's explore this further, because actually I think part of what really pissed you off is that in fact people did laugh.
Yeah, the audience was having a good time.
Which I think you... well, I didn't think that the audience liked the film. I think there were about 5 or 6 jokes that were so outré that they were very funny. So there's a joke which is basically somebody uncovers like a curtain in a porn place or in a whorehouse, and instead of what you expect to see, it's a masturbation scene, but it's a cow who's being milked. Right? Yeah, and I thought that was very funny.
It's a cow on its back having
Yes.
all its udders milked by an octopus. It's like this 8-handed masturbation scene.
Yes.
Or slash milking scene. And it's done for a camera, and there's this thing about having to make my own porn now because internet's cutting into ourselves and this, that, and the other.
I laughed.
Yeah, I mean,
but it is very crude.
Oh, it's super crude, and I don't think that's like bad in and of itself. I didn't laugh at that. I mean, I did think I was already kind of sick of the film at this point. Of course,
first 5 minutes.
It really was the first 5 minutes, wasn't it? And there is a kind of again outre sort of sex scene later on. Which I had a certain amount of fun with. I mean, when he comes all over the place, there's a certain charm in the way that the puppet is kind of so stiff and just being shaken around, and there is so much semen coming out of this, and it's actually very much like the vomit scene in Team America, which is the same sort of thing. If you watch that, and it's not just that there is so much vomit coming out of the puppet, but that the puppet moves so stiffly. That's funny too. So there's, but
I don't know.
Limited.
I mean, there was something very depressing about this film, without a doubt. I mean, we've been talking about what is the worst film of the year, and we've been revising downwards, and I think this now gets my vote.
That's an interesting thought.
For worst film of the year, and it is very depressing. And actually, the thing that I found really depressing was it's incompetent, right? Like. How you think, how did this film get made? And really the only answer to that question is because the director is Jim Henson's son. I can't, this is so unskilled, it boggles the mind. Like, nothing is set up properly, nothing looks good, none of the sequences are well built. It's just like a kind of an amateur filmmaking, really. I mean, obviously done with a big budget that permits kind of green screen and, so you can buy in the technical facilities. But actually, in terms of like telling a story or building up a joke or kind of setting it up and getting the pay, it's all wrong, really.
Yeah, it's unskilled comedy.
It's unskilled comedy.
And really lazy. And like, it mistakes swearing and vulgarity for actual jokes.
Yes. So that pissed me off. And actually, one of the things I was very conscious about that I want to talk about is really Melissa McCarthy. Because like just a few years ago, I was arguing. I was getting angry at people because, I was thinking, don't you understand kind of what she is and what she represents? And it's so astonishing, right? Like to have the top female box office star of the day. I think, I was just looking on
Apart from Jennifer Lawrence.
Apart from Jennifer Lawrence, but I think there was a couple of years where, she had films that were entirely built around her, which she carried entirely, and actually on the basis of her personality, right? Because I think the difference between her and Jennifer Lawrence is, Jennifer Lawrence is a young and beautiful woman, right? And she's been put into like some great films, or maybe she's just made better choices. Whereas Melissa McCarthy is a middle-aged comedian that made successes out of all of these films purely on the basis of, her talent and her persona. And this made me angry because I thought, what the fuck is she doing in this film? Like, she's pissing away her stardom, right? Like, you can only take so many hits. And this is like, she's been doing very mediocre films, which really, it's only because of the love that audiences have for her that they've been turned into hits. Right, she hasn't been in a good film at all, really.
A lot of them are two-handers and ensemble things, which I think help. But it's true that like her track record is one of making money out of movies. So it's not an accident that her movies keep making money. But I think I feel like I don't like her. I think she's really limited.
I love her, but I won't keep loving her if she continues to make shit films. And actually, I think kind of almost all of her latest have been so, and even her best have been great, right? So she did Identity Thief with Jason Bateman, which was a big hit. But I can barely remember anything about that film. And then she did the film with Sandra Bullock, The Heat, which again, very enjoyable, even bigger hit than Identity Thief. But I can't even remember a line from that film. And kind of, then she did The Boss, and then they began to deteriorate really.
I think that's when they started to try and make her start on her own and make her really the top billing.
Yes.
Like I say, the others where she's paired up with someone,
it's better.
They're probably a bit better, but
but this is just. I mean, okay, trash is bad, but actually I can really love trash. But there is something about just sheer incompetence that makes me angry because
it's bad trash.
Well, it's not just that it's just so I think in making entertainment or making art, you can't guarantee that something will turn out good, right? But you at least have talented people kind of giving it a go and doing their best. You don't even get a sense of that with this. This is a level of incompetence that goes beyond that, really. This is just kind of blagging and coasting. And, I don't blame the director for blagging and coasting if he wants to make a film. But what I can't understand is what did Melissa McCarthy see in it? How did she get involved?
According to Wikipedia, she saw between $10 and $17 million.
But surely,
what would you do for $10 to $17 million?
If that's a quote, she can get it from various sources. It's still a choice to choose this one. She could have made 10 to 17 out of doing something else.
Yeah.
So I don't understand it, but what I do understand is that she's an intriguing figure and an exceptional figure because. She's 48 and, she's a middle-aged woman who is an enormous box office star, and it's not on the basis of her looks or her sexual desirability, right? It's on the basis of a warmth that she exudes and an honesty that she exudes. And this goes completely against that. This is just crass and vulgar and nasty.
Actually. Although I would say, what makes her in particular a figure that people like, I think, is preserved in this film. She's not turned into... I don't think she's asked to do stuff that she wouldn't otherwise do. I mean, she's capable of crude humour, and I mean, that's actually... when you go back to Bridesmaids, that's kind of what people picked up on.
No, but that crudity comes out of an honesty.
Yeah, no, but I don't... I think that the crudity in this kind of slightly surrounds her. It's not like she's an innocent in it, and she's kind of part of it, but I don't feel like she's betraying what you know of her in this film. It's just the film around her is such shit.
Well, but my question then is, why would you want to participate in such shit? Because actually, the shit not hitting you, or you not, you are contributing to the shit just by being in it. Because actually, without you, this film probably wouldn't have been made, right? So, that you don't allow yourself to be, put on a bed and being milked, actually, doesn't mean that you're not kind of putting out this kind of shit into the world.
Yeah.
So if I were her, I'd be careful. No, it's true. She wouldn't be the first kind of star to piss it all away in a couple of years.
Yeah.
Right? Think of somebody like Burt Reynolds. You do too much shit after a while and you lose it.
But let's also be honest, the only reason that we're talking about this as, in those terms is because it's doing really badly at the box office. Because I think a load of her other films have been crap as well, but they've all done really well at the box office, and that has kept her going.
I'm not sure I would agree with that. Because, the thing is that, in the other films, and they're not very good, so I don't remember them very well. But I think what she contributed was kind of an every woman kind of dilemma and warmth, and kind of dealing with sexism at work, and there were all kinds of things that kind of had to do with, she made things funny. She made problems that real American women of a certain age have, and she turned them into humor and turned the situation back on the culture. So, the films might not have been very good, but actually what she was doing, and the reason why she was a star, is because what she was doing was significant. That it was a kind of a turning a mirror onto a situation and kind of critiquing it through jokes, through incurring laughter. This is contributing to everything that's wrong with American culture. This is like this is a film of a pornographic culture which wallows in it, and she's at the center of it.
And I feel like a prude really saying that it's lowest common denominator, but unfortunately that is really what it is. And I think they think it's audacious to try and they reenact the Sharon Stone leg crossing scene from Basic Instinct, which is really famous. And they do it with a puppet, so that makes it audacious and funny and something you can show in a movie.
Yeah, but on the other hand, it's more crude.
It's way more crude. You see an extended shot of and then they also turn it into a plot twist. Yes. Where the colour of the girl's pubic hair reveals that she is this certain character that means that she's the killer, right? And I think they think it's being hilarious to turn that into a plot twist. What it really means is that they just show you the shot a second time and you go, oh, for fuck's sake, this is
it's kind of
so crude and stupid.
Yes, and actually I think it was interesting how angry you were at it, because in fact it is very depressing to see something like this. It really puts you in a bad humor. It calls on the worst of you watching it, right? And it's a very unpleasant experience to watch. And
it definitely wasn't the film that most people have laughed at in a screening I've seen this year. I mean, Ant-Man was definitely, people liked it more, and there are other films, but I'm not overestimating how much people are enjoying it. There were definitely people having a really good time in the cinema, and that just made me despair. It made me hurt inside.
Yes. So on that note,
it's awful.
It's awful.
It is the very lowest of this kind of film that I've seen, and Sausage Party is a step up, but only the barest. Like, it does have a certain level of satirical and, but a certain level of intelligence behind it. Really, It has a point to make, but it is still really vulgar and crude in the most pointless ways.
It's the first puppet movie to make you feel dirty and depressed.
Yeah, I mean, and actually, I think Melissa McCarthy can't act opposite puppets, which is not like that'll be career ending. But I mean, the absolute high point of this in cinema is Michael Caine in Muppet Christmas Carol. Yes. Like the pathos and the empathy, and the way that he behaves opposite Kermit is amazing. And this has none of that. Melissa McCarthy is no Michael Caine.
All right. On that note, thank you very much for listening.
Jim Henson must be rolling in his grave.
Yes.
I mean, it does say, as you said earlier, it says on Wikipedia that he was part of the planning for this. He knew it. Like, God knows what he thought it was.
Well, let me tell you, it wouldn't have come out this way.
I can't imagine that it would have been anything like this. The film he was imagining.
This was truly kind of bottom of the barrel stuff, and completely inept. I can't underline that enough. There isn't a shot worth looking at, and actually it was terrible. So it's the first film which really put so the filmmakers were obviously so unimpressed with what they put in the screen, that at the end of the film they show you the green screen, how they actually did the puppets in green screen, right? To kind of make you admire, if you didn't admire the film, at least you would admire the wizardry necessary to make it. And it was pathetic, because in these off-takes, kind of whilst you did think, okay, this was a lot more complicated to make than you thought, nonetheless there wasn't a single laugh in it.
No, they're showing outtakes, and it is honestly the first set of outtakes I've seen at the end of a film that didn't make me laugh once, and normally they're great outtakes.
Yes.
That's the whole point of them.
Yeah. So, the nadir of the year, this far.
Honestly,
there might be more.
in that screening, I genuinely felt like I was an alien. Like, I didn't understand the people I was in that screening room with, who were having a good time.
Well, there weren't that many,
but enough to make me feel like I had visited from a different planet.
and aren't you glad?
Yeah. Horrible. Horrible. And to be honest, I resent you for making me sit.
Oh well. You know.
I'm glad we saw The Equalizer 2.
You can't just see what you like.
Because that's better.
So, thank you very much for listening. We are on Facebook, iTunes, YouTube, SoundCloud, and Twitter.
Well done.
You'll find the podcast much more entertaining than the film.
If you take the initials of Facebook, iTunes, SoundCloud, Twitter, and YouTube, it spells fisty.